Chat Night Africa Live, about to begin.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming to get down. I'm coming.
Chat Night Africa Live, Afrocentric solutions to Africa's challenges.
We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down.
Showcasing Africa's touristic luxuriance.
We're gonna party hardy. We're gonna boogie.
The other story of Africa.
And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here.
Chat Night Africa Live, about to begin.
I'm ready. I'm coming. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. Coming to get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance.
Chat Night Africa Live, about to begin.
Coming to get down. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. I'm ready. I'm coming. I'm dancing. I'm dancing. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance.
And now, Chat Night Africa Live with Divine Chamuko.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to this week's edition of Chat Night Africa. What would you do if your child slammed the door in your face, walked away on you, rolled their eyes, or talked back to you in the course of an argument or a discussion? How do you remain a compassionate parent, yet at the same time assert your parental authority? That's the conundrum so many parents find themselves more often than not, especially parents in Europe and North America. If the scenarios I raise sound familiar, you can understand why Chat Night Africa is taking the topic. And to take my questions on the platform, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our parenting expert, Oluwatoyin Adefemi. Madam, you're welcome to Chat Night Africa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
And what would be your opening remarks on the broadcast this week, madam?
Parenting it's a challenge, and yet it can be fun, right? It is critical that we understand the timing we're in, and most importantly, for example, if you're not in the African diaspora, you're abroad, it is challenging. You have the cultural piece where you're trying to have your kids understand. In addition to that, you have the environment they're growing up in and also your culture as well. How do you infuse both to raise an highly intelligent child, high achiever, emotionally balanced child? It's a challenge, but I'm really excited today because we're going to talk about that. How we choose to raise our children is critical. The legacy that we provide to them, it's not about what we're giving to them or how we're providing for them. There's another layer element that we need to always ensure we're looking at, which is nurturing and providing at the same time. Most times we tend to provide more and not focus on the nurturing side. It's 1 + 1 = 2, or 1 × 1 = 1. The overall goal is we need to learn to balance those. So therefore, I'm looking forward to tonight's chat.
Thank you so much again, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest on the show is Oluwatoyin Adefemi. I appreciate you coming on the show today, Toyin. I will be calling you Toyin on the show. Toyin, when you see a child slam the door, roll their eyes when the parents are talking to him or her, walk away on their parents, talk back. Sometimes they even insult their parents. What do you think accounts for such behavior, which quite frankly drive parents crazy? The environment, or parents just lost control?
Great question. Here's the deal. When I parent or empower or coach parent, one of the things that I tend to tell them is, you, how is your own health? If your child is doing such, right? Your child will always be a child, whether teenager, a younger kid from zero through teenage years or early adulthood. The question is the trigger, emotional trigger. What emotional trigger does it bring to you? The reason why I'm saying that, a lot of times we tend to react on, oh my gosh, they're slamming the door. But if you and I take a step back and ask, why is this child behaving a certain way? Is he situational? If you look at a preteen, are they growing? If you look at a teenager, are they moody? Or a younger child, did something just happen to them? Or did they just see something that they're acting it out, expressing themselves in the atmosphere of their attitude, or lashing out, like slamming the door, having a tantrum, or throwing the towel and having a chaotic moment? As in that specific scenario, it's really, really critical that parent, we take a step back and ask a key question. What is this? And if you know you have a trigger, parenting trigger, in the sense that, they talk about trigger a lot, psychologists talk about it, but parents, we have trigger as well. If your child slams the door and the first thing is, oh my gosh, it triggers anger, it's key for you to step back and assess. Yes, they're slamming for a specific reason. They are reacting. They're trying to get your attention, or there's something that is bugging them. Instead of verbalizing it or asking questions, or they're acting it out. Hence why they're really doing all those output that you're seeing. But the key question is, we need to understand one thing. Parenting is a process of raising children, providing and protecting them, and caring in order to ensure that they have a healthy adulthood. And keyword healthy. See, part of those tantrums are moments whereby we can coach them. Yes, you're upset. I call something called a basket. I'm a parent of two amazing boys myself. I have a basket. Everything they do, I pile it up, I check it out, and I let it stay in that basket, right? But there are moments where that basket becomes very full and we need to address it. See, you really need to keyword, build a strong emotional resistance. So when they lash out or act out this certain way, it doesn't move you to yell. It doesn't move you to go off on them and explode, because they know, as African parents, we're going to do such. That's what we do best. We react in such ways. So it's key you step back and ask, is this situational? Are they doing this because X, Y, and Z? Are they defiant? Or is this a situational scenario where they're acting out? Those are key questions we need to ask before we proceed.
You say, as African parents, we tend to lash out.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a clash of cultures, or what? That is, you have kids who have now acquired the values of their new environment. I'm talking now about kids in the diaspora in the United States and Europe, and you have parents who were born and raised in Africa. Is it a clash of cultures in this instance?
Absolutely. Here's the deal. I grew up in Nigeria, and my kids will be first American Nigerian, right? The way I view slamming doors, to me, that's very disrespectful. To me, culturally, it's not right for you to raise your voice as adults, because that's how I'm brought up. And I'm not saying we're not doing such with our kids, but we need to we need to look at the environment. There are different kind of fishes in different pond. There are some fish that may grow up in Atlantic Ocean, some that may grow up in, grow finely in the Gulf Stream, right? But the question is the environment they're in. You need to really put that all into factor. A lot of us Africans, we tend to parent our children based on culture. And that's not how it's done. We tell them, yes, it's not how it's done, but we need to make it relatable to them. We need to make them understand that, wait a minute, what is really going on? And explain to me, this is rude and this is why. Sometimes I find, my kids too, when I'm like, culturally, it's not acceptable. I hear what you're saying, but that's not right. So we really need to look at the environment they're growing up, because the environment influences them. It may not influence you and I as, migrated immigrants into whatever country we're in, but to them, the environment impacts them as well. But that doesn't mean at the same time that they should lash out or do certain things. We just have to create boundaries, not culturally educate them. This is this. We need to show example as well.
This is Chat Night Africa, and my guest is parenting expert Oluwatoyin Adefemi. Lady Adefemi, along the line, our phone lines will be open so that if viewers have questions, they can agree with you or challenge your points of view. You are asking parents, especially African parents, to, quote, we need to take into consideration the environment. You are asking parents to not raise their children culturally as Africans, are you?
So what I'm actually in sense saying is empowering them and educating them and informing them of our culture. For example, if a child slams the door, instead of me raising the parent raising their voice, yes, let them have their moment. They're not going anywhere. A lot of us parents are always in a rush to punish them or discipline our children. Don't be in a rush. You calm down because you are the adult, and then tell them what they did wrong. Culturally, if you're impacting them, hey, culturally, slamming door represents X, Y, and Z. To you, for example, we're in the United States. Parents do. Your friend's parent might do it. It's not acceptable because this is my viewpoint of how I'm seeing what you're doing, and it's not acceptable. So, not saying culture is beautiful. We need to teach our children culture. It's important. But a lot of us, an emphasis on a lot of us, even millennial parents, because I'm one too, tend to use culture to raise our children. The times when you were raised, culture played a key part because you grew up, the environment of Africa, how things are. But here, your kids have never been back home. So certain things that you do, they may not relate to it. So it's key upon you to empower them to culture. Tell them the differences, and you're going to have differences, believe it or not. You're going to have cultural differences, even parental differences, personality differences, because you are the parent and they are the child. There will always be differences. It's just level setting to make sure they always get it. That is key.
Parents worry that if you don't enforce your culture at home when raising your children, you risk having or ending up with hybrids, children who are neither Africans, nor Americans, nor Europeans. Are such fears founded?
Here's the deal. When we talk about culture, a lot of us tend to bring the culture when we want to train our children, when we want to correct them, and that's wrong. The culture should not come up as a tool to talk to the child. Let me emphasize more on that, and I really have to be careful there. You empower them, you talk to them about culture when they're calm, when things are well, but you don't apply culture when they've misbehaved or they're rebellious or doing something wrong. They're not going to get the message. They're going to miss the whole point. And there you go. Teenagers will be like, oh, there we go again. Here goes mommy and her stories. And they've missed the opportunity to understand or what you're trying to impact upon them at that moment. So yes, culture is key, but it's the right timing. It should not be used as a corrective measure when they misbehave.
Quite frankly, this isn't a content so many people are going to be thrilled about because it actually pokes a finger into their eyes. But we've got to do it because
Correct.
It's really a problem. The consequences of this, if not well handled, could be dire. Children abandon their home, some commit suicide, some get into drugs. We will get to that. Oluwatoyin Adefemi, what other ways do you see the environment, the American environment or the European environment influencing the cultural habits of African children?
Great question. Their friends, their peers, social media, a whole lot impacts them. For example, growing up in a culture, a teenager or younger child can look at, oh my goodness, my mom always lashes out very easily. Here's my child, Johnny or Scott. Their parent talks and dialogues with them. When they see that, they begin to weigh apples and oranges. Why is my parent different? Why is my mom always yelling? Or why is my mom sometimes, kind of talking in a very harsh and not empathetic way towards me? They start weighing apple to apple and trying to see the difference between themselves. Yes, culture is key, but it has to do with the right timing and it has to be the right environment to make sure they get it because we really want them to have our culture too. Regardless of where you are in the United States and Europe, culture is key. But when you are disciplining and talking to your children, it's not the right time to say, "Oh, I told because told you so." Kids nowadays will understand, but mommy, why did you say that? I don't get it. And it's not like they're being defined; they're just trying to connect the dots of why. And there's nothing wrong in you explaining, "Yes, I am the mom and this is what I'm saying, and this is how I'm saying it, and it's for your own benefit." They may get it, but they may not get it. But the key piece is you're impacting them. And don't forget, our job is to raise adults in any continent, in North America, in Europe as well, to kind of, to blend in, to stand out, to be well balanced, well rounded, and emotionally intelligent as well. And culture too.
What is it that makes the African parent come across as abrasive, uncaring, insensitive, not listening, not caring about what the child thinks? What is it in African parents that make us react this way towards children?
Great question. Great key question. And here's why. Our upbringing. A parent does not deviate far from how they are brought up. Two things. If you grew up in a very harsh environment or abusive, you want to make effort to avoid your child. But the parenting style of your parents, some, not all, some people may follow 100%, some may deviate from it. So when we're talking to our children, even the culture, like I'm Yoruba, sometimes I'm speaking very loud and it's not like I'm harsh or anything. It's just our personality, our culture, and the way we speak. So to them, "Oh, mommy, you're yelling," and I'm like, "I'm not yelling. I'm just making a conversation." So the way we talk matters, and especially when there's a gap, right? A gap in the sense of growing up here and us going up there. So the way we speak too matters. Our body language matters. It's like they're looking at every clues. Back home, when I grew up, adults is talking. I can't look at them in the eye. It's kind of disrespectful. And kids here, you're talking, they're looking right in your eyes, and some parents might be like, "Oh, you're challenging me." So we need to really move past some of these cultural differences and empower our children. This is my time. This is my period. This is how I look at things. And it's all about understanding. And the key thing to all this, communication is key to breaking down the barrier of cultural parenting.
This is Chat Night Africa. Mrs. Adefemi, when parents think that or perceive children as being disobedient when the children are just being assertive, is it a misunderstanding of the children's perspective to how they should interact with their children or with their parents? Or what is it that's causing this misunderstanding?
Great question. A lot of our children are very assertive. They have opinion. They have a mind of their own. And I think it's actually not even think. The key thing is us parent reorienting our perspective about parenting. Our children are human. They have ego, if it's the boys, they have personality, and they have emotions. When we look at it that way as a parent, we parent differently. We're not looking at, for example, let me give you a perfect example. I heard this and it really broke my heart. An African parent was trying to make a point. The child, they perceived the child did something. Mind you, that child did not do it. And guess what? A hot slap came out of nowhere. The child was upset. He wasn't upset about the slap. He was upset because he was so embarrassed. And then for pointing something out, talk about servant assertiveness, right? But here comes the parent thinking the child is being defiant. And the next thing that happened is slap. We need to know the difference. When our children are being assertive, they should be assertive. And if it's too aggressive, that's where we come into play to help them balance it.
what is it that makes back home in Africa, you don't have this conflict? I mean, not to say that it's all a smooth right between parents and children in Africa. It seems to be a real problem in the diaspora. And as a result, and I'm sure you're going to look into all of those things, the consequences, as I said earlier, children go into drugs, they get into sexual activities earlier than they really should because they're looking for somebody who can maybe listen to them. And that person is somebody, a sexual predator, and many, many, many other. How do you think that parents, African parents in particular, can begin to be a lot more? What do they have to do? What kind of training? Do they have to come and talk to you like parenting expert? What kind of training? What should they do to be a lot more accommodating, a lot more understanding of the children that they now have?
There are two key things I'm going to say, and I'm going to elaborate here. African parents, we need to shift from provider mentality to nurturing mentality.
What do you mean by that?
We are great providers. Shelter, food, whatever the child wants. The child wants iPhone, the child wants candy, no matter how little. They want something you provided. They need more than that. Thank God you're able to provide. You also need to nurture. And this is key. The nurturing piece is what shapes them to become healthy adults. That helps them to know how to interact with another person, knows how to be respectful, knows how to, when they come in contact with authority, how they can respond. All those nurturing has a big piece. If a child feels like they have your audience, you as their audience in their home, they're going to be very healthy. Providing is not just the only way of, getting through to a child, or they want one thing and you buy it for them. You have to nurture. And what does it mean to nurture? Every child has love language, believe it or not. Is, a child more, what does he or she like? Food, act of service. Kids have that. Physical touch, maybe they want to hang out with mommy and hug mommy or daddy all the time. They have that. You have to really get to know those key things. And you have to be very empathetic. We're talking about culturally. Someone who is raising a child can look at another angle and say, you're being disrespectful. In other words, the child is just being expressive. Yes, they may not say it the right way, communicate it to the best of their ability, but that's where we parents come to guide them, to train them, and help them go in the right direction. So nurturing more, providing also, but nurturing and applying empathy.
The natural fear in parents, as I said earlier, is they don't want to have children who cannot identify with the cultural values of their respective African countries. Is there anything positive in what the children now learn in Europe or the United States that could actually turn the child into a high achiever?
Excellent question. If culture is very important to you, engage them in a cultural event. Let them learn. When we teach our children to learn, it shouldn't be based, like I said earlier, because a lot of us tend to do that, or some of us, let me take that back. We tend to kind of correct on the fly, but we don't spend time to say, hey, look at this. So if culture is very important to us, to really raise a high achiever child, engage them in cultural events. Study abroad. There are a lot of YouTube stuff they can watch, and you guys can dialogue on that piece as well. Teach them about the culture at the right timing. Hey, let's do a project together. I'll do this, you do that. You tell me this, I'll look up this country, you look up that country. Tell me all the things you learned, and I will tell you. We're now partnering on empowering the child to be aware of their culture, because we want our children to, even though they are here, culture plays a key role, and it helps them to think broadly, not to think from a narrow-minded, because that's a blessing of having culture. You see things from different angle and other people's perspective, right? And that's what lane we should really achieve and strive to be on. And it will help our children to think outside the box, not like, oh, American, I think American way. What about kids abroad that don't have food? Can you perhaps, donate or have them adopt a child abroad, write letters. You know what I mean? That's a key way that you're trying to teach them to think outside of their box and talk about how high achiever children. That's how you do it. It's not about, intelligent, how intelligent a child is, academically driven, how they are. It has to do with all those key elements, makes them well-rounded achievers.
I went somewhere, Oluwatoyin Adefemi. The children were like going wild. They were like just some wild buffaloes, falling, jumping on chairs. And this is what the mother in exasperation said: "This American picking them."
Mm.
In other words, well, that's how these children, now Americanized, behave.
Mm.
Could it be because also a lot of parents are absentee parents? Because you said that parents have this posturing of being the provider. And then because of that, they're working 16 hours, 12 hours, they're never at home. What's your comment on that?
Hmm.
Parents trying to be providing, the provider, and on the other hand, parenting that should be home is not there. The children are left to themselves, watching TV and just about doing anything on the internet.
The first key to parenting is you need to know your style. And here is where we separate the culture a bit, because we're raising kids in the non-African, abroad, right? You need to know what your parenting style is. For parenting style, authoritative. Authoritative means do as I do, don't ask questions. This kids tends to be high. They are very academically high achievers, but emotionally they have no they don't have any emotional being. They're very down, insecure and all that. And you have permissive parent. Permissive parent is very laid back. Whatever you do is fine. Just get out of my way. You have the uninvolved, meaning 100% providing, or they may not provide at all, and they're out of the picture. And you have the authoritative. And here's the key that every parent should strive to become, which is, you're balancing this discipline and the nurturing. You're doing the provider and then the nurturing piece. You did this. Let's talk about it. This is why you did this. This is why you got. I did this for you. This is why I took away your phone, or this is why I'm not going to give you X, Y, and Z because you did this and that. And that's what we all should aspire to become, right? It has nothing to do with us, muscling up. Like authoritative parents, they're like, no, I said this my way or the highway. Hear the child out. Even if they don't even make sense, you're giving them an opportunity for them to express themselves, for them to gain a skill in the home. If we don't teach them, there's an African saying that says charity begins at home, which is love begins at home. If they don't get that love, that opportunity to learn, they're not going to get it out there. So it's key for you to know your parenting style. So when you know your parenting style, the rest is history, because you now begin to like, okay, I'm not parenting in Africa anymore. I'm parenting here. What are my situation? What are my options? How is my child? How is my parenting? How is my approach? How is my style? Is my style adaptable to the child or not? Those are critical things we need to engage and ask ourselves.
I have a text coming in from Nigeria, and the question is, what are the techniques that parents really need to assemble or pull together to be able to get along better with their children, especially the teenage children?
Teenager is my space. Teenagers there are different things going on with them, and we need to be very sensitive. And let me even step back. There are 3 seasons of parenting. Number 1, when we train them in their diaper, they don't know any better. Whatever we tell them, they do. Then there's now the discipleship, meaning from 4 years old to almost 10, where we're helping them, we're correcting, we're enforcing rules, we're setting boundaries, we're doing all this. Then in teenage years is mainly mentorship. It's a reinforcement of all you've taught them over the years, right? And it's now where they're practicing it on their own because they are independent. So we need to really take that into account, that kids are not being rebellious at that stage. And secondly, Developmentally, their body is going through a lot. They're changing their hormone, things are, growing, and they're kind of like, they don't want to talk about it because it may be embarrassing. And then you have the emotional piece where they're growing and they're like, body wise, they think, mentally wise, they think they're older, but they're really not. But the key to all this is paying attention to the needs. And their needs varies. Their tantrums, their attitude, today nice, tomorrow they're feisty. It's not like they mean it. It's just they're changing and they can't really, they're swinging this way today, swinging that way. Their friends, there's that peer pressure too. They're watching their friends. So it's key to really pay attention and watch how they are.
I have another question texted me from New York. The question is, Madam Expert, how do you handle situations when children are always questioning every instruction that you give them? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this? Why? And the writer says, as a parent, I have to admit that it gets very, very annoying when I have to explain everything I am instructing my child to do.
We need to understand parenting is a role. And and we need to, then it's key that, this person understands one thing. As parents, we're just ambassadors. How these children got into our world, who they are, what they look like, we have no clue. Their future, we cannot tell, but we are ambassadors. So when you have moments where your child is asking why, mommy, why, this is a well-informed, and thank God you're in New York. It's a well-informed society where they want to know. And you, as a parent, need to kind of step back. Why are you asking why? Or ask them, why do you always ask why? Engage in that conversation. Are they doing it on purpose, intentionally, or just to get on your nerves? It's really critical that you understand that. And there's nothing wrong in them asking. Yes, it might be busy time. If you can't answer at that moment, tell them, you know what, sweetie, give me 5 minutes, or sweetie, give me 10 minutes. How about in 30 minutes when I finish this task, you and I would talk about it. You're not dismissing them. You're acknowledging what they have to say is very important, and why they're asking you. You want to express it to them as well. So just don't dust it off and say, because I told you so. It may be very important. It may be that important time for you to empower them or educate them or coach them about what they need. So there is value. So we have to as parents kind of look at it from the back of our mind, that why is this child asking me why? And then, is this the right timing? Or is this the wrong timing? But make sure you address it. Don't let it look like a pain point. Don't let it look like they are bugging you. Yes, it can be annoying, but once you flip your mind and look at it like, you know what, I'm going to explain to them at the right timing and acknowledging them. That's where.
And this is Chat Night Africa from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. I'm your host, Divine Nchamukom. There are situations I have seen, especially in Maryland area, Washington, D.C. metropolitan area here, Madam Adefemi, that parents send back their children. They get so fed up, they can't handle it anymore. They send back their children to Africa for what I call enculturation. Is that what parents should do at some point?
You have to have good reasons. And it has to be if you're sending them back to culturally, I've had two scenarios in this where the kid will go back home, maybe because the kid was misbehaving, and they come back and they're well-mannered, well-cultured, and very right on track. And there are some that come back very rebellious and very angry that their parents send them back. So that defeats the purpose, right? When we send our children, I'm against sending your children. It's like you're pushing up your responsibility to somebody else. Except if you move with them, then yes, it's going to work out. But you're creating another layer of issues and complication when you send them home and you say, go live with grandma just because, or all of a sudden they wake up and they find a plane ticket to go back home. That's not the right way. We have to approach it like, okay, the root cause of the problem. Why are you doing this thing, right? And if you want to send them back home, send them for a summertime to go and learn something. Whenever we send them home, or take them home. Let it be more of a cultural awareness. Let it be a cultural empowerment, but not as a corrective tool for us to send them back home. And I hope that answers that person's question, because we need to be intentional. We need to be conscious of what we do and how we do it.
This is Chat Night Africa, and you can now pick up your phone and dial the number 240-603-7367. Repeat, 240-603-7367. If you're overseas, you can do the call on WhatsApp if you want to by first dialing 001. I repeat, 001-240-603-7367. You can dial the number and be live on the show. If you're in the United States, in Canada, you don't have to do the 001. My guest is Lady Oluwatoyin Adefemi. How do you handle, and that's a question that just came in, how do you handle a teenager, young girl who is now at the age of dating, who is now looking at boys and saying, or boys looking at young ladies in school and say, she looks beautiful. How do you get to understand? Because this is a potential area of conflict between parents and their children. How do you handle that?
This has to be individualized. And the reason why I said that is the parent, first and foremost, please let's not make an assumption that our children would know when and how they can date. It is our responsibility as parent to say, maybe when you're 17 years old, you're emotionally matured, when you're 18 years old, but you get the point, right? They have feelings. You know, I have my 7-year-old telling me, oh, he has a crush on someone. I had to ask him, what does crush mean? You know what I mean? So let's not say, oh my God, it's a taboo. It's normal. They would like someone, you know, it's an attraction. And what they choose to do with it, that's when we can, you know, educate them. In that young girl likes, you know, sit with them. Understand, wait, okay, what does dating mean to you? What does attraction mean to you? You need to get into their world. That's the key for every parent, especially when it comes to the dating age. Are your friends doing it? Because you want to make sure it's not a pressure situation. Is it a natural feeling like, oh, I'm liking this person? Or is it like a trend? Oh, all my friends have boyfriends. So the girl is like, I want to have boyfriend too. You need to understand, all right, explain to me what you mean, and not explaining like, oh my gosh, you want to get into their world and tell them no, 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 no. Engage them, date your child, help them understand what it is to be dating. I remember telling a parent one time that said that their son wants to start dating. I asked the parent, and I coached the parent, and I said, do they know the responsibility of dating? Are they ready to buy flowers for the girl? Are they ready to do certain things? The boy was like, oh, no, 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 no. Dating is responsibility. The boy now looked at it in a different direction. It's not about feelings or liking a girl. There's more to it. You have to treat her like a lady. You know what I mean? And he stepped back. He said, no, I'm not ready to waste my money on any girl. We took that time to kind of explain it. So with this girl, understand her world. What does she mean by dating and why? Why? If it's natural, are you open to meeting the parent of the boy? You know, we have to date our children, and we have to understand what dating is to them.
You can get the applause indicating people are liking what you're saying. And I have to be frank, some people are going to be very uncomfortable with this broadcast. I get that. One of the subjects, what have you identified, Oluwatoyin, as some of the subjects African parents just tiptoe around? They just don't think they should bring it up with children at all.
Now we're getting very deep here. Number one is sex. Parents don't want to mention, it's like a taboo. Don't even hear. You know, when a teenager is coming, the likelihood of having exposure to it, hearing it, friends talking about it is very high. You know, we can't control the environment in which our children would be, but we can help channel their mind and their perspective about things like sex. African parents don't want to hear the word sex. African parents don't want to hear the word, sleepover sometimes, right? But the critical one is sex. And there's nothing wrong. Teenage years, they are feeling it, they are hearing it. But we need to really teach them the right way. It's better for us to be on the front line, telling them the right way of how these kind of topics are than the world telling them. You know, if you don't tell our children how things are and what it ought to be, the world will tell them what is not. And that's where they'll start thinking there's more to these big words, which it's really not. They hear the nice parts, they don't hear the consequences. They hear, oh my God, all their friends are having sex, or what about STDs? What about all this educational thing we can provide to them? African parents avoid that, and I think it's a very big mistake. You can tell when a child is coming up on certain topics. When they start tiptoeing, or like, mommy, I'm thinking this, or they may interject this word. It's really critical upon us to really pay attention and drill down, ask questions, not talk and say, oh, this. Hear their own perspective, hear their own opinion. You can really tell where your child is. If your child is easily pressured, or your child easily is rational, you can see the logic of this and that. So we need to really, really pay close attention and not avoid the word sex in teenage years.
A parent listening to you now must be saying, yeah, you can say it is easier said than done. How do parents approach this sensitive topic of sex? Why do you think that African parents are avoiding in the first place?
It's a cultural thing. To us, it's like that should not even be your priority. Normally, your books, which is true, your future, your ambitions, your goal, you should be very engaged in other matters outside of sex. But we know developmentally, some of the guys are feeling it. Average now, some of them get exposed to it on the school bus, believe it or not, where their friends are watching, pornography, or a girl dresses a certain way. And the girls of nowadays, Lord help them. I went to high school here, so I know how it is to kind of dress a certain way to get a guy's attention. The girls now are taking it to the next level. Some of them, you're looking at them, my goodness, they look so grown up. If you have a son, he's not blind. He's going to see all these things, right? So when you start seeing them acting a certain way, or they're watching a show and you see their reaction, that's why I say, kids drop so much clues. But the question is, are we really that attentive? And I'm not saying we should be attentive all the time, be in their space. But we can get this inclination. We can tell. We have this intuition, like, this child is up to something, or this, they behave a certain way. But we need to really listen to those cues and help them to learn the right way on how to do it.
The question still remains: how do you even introduce the topic?
Having a conversation, asking them questions. So what is your thought about this? Introduce the topic. I call it the introduction, to see where their mind is and how much they know or how much they don't know. And then from there, build up. You have the conversation ongoing. For example, sex. A teenager, when parents came into counseling one time, and they were shocked that their 14-year-old knew the word sex. It was like a light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, when did you know? And the child was like, oh, I knew at 8 years old. And then now at 14, the child has learned wrapped in so many other complication of, oh, it's not a big deal. You can use, the girl can use pill, the girl can use, all this and all that. And the parent kind of froze. But the key thing on how is to ask questions. What do you understand about the word sex? And make sure you're ready to don't, and you can really tell, like I said, on the how, you can pick up clue when your child is ready for certain conversation. When you say certain words and how their body twitches, it might be the opportunity to say, oh, darling, what do you know about this? Or what is your thought about this? Or there's a movie or something that is really crazy. You ask for their opinion, and then you can use that moment to coach them, to empower them, to educate them, because that's what we do as parents. We educate them on the pros and the cons.
Pros and the cons. There are parents who are Christians, some are non-Christians. There are parents who believe in abstinence. Some say, well, that's not realistic. Maybe tell them about condom, how to protect themselves. A parent in this dilemma, what are they to do? They talk about abstinence. It might not happen. Great as it might sound, it might not happen. How is a parent to navigate this?
you have to ask yourself two things. Am I comfortable asking my child? Or perhaps can I explore someone who is younger who can have a very good conversation for them to understand? But first, I need to tell that person that I entrust to empower my child or educate my child on my expectation is abstinence. And here's the reason why. So that person can echo it. If you don't feel comfortable, that's a good route to go and have that person learn more. The likelihood of teenagers, they will always confide in someone. If they're not comfortable with their parents, they're always going to confide in someone. It's just a matter of that person that they feel comfortable with. Perhaps you have a very close relationship with your child. Ask them, hey, come up with a story. Oh, I saw X, Y, and Z case. What do you think? Oh my goodness. A 14-year-old having sex. What do you think? You would start knowing exactly where their mind, what they're thinking, and how, if they were in that same situation, how they approach it. And those are the two critical routes. If I believe in abstinence. I tell my teenagers, trust me, it's critical. It's for your own good. It's like, something is going to be yours and you're picking in between this, the curtain. Some of them like, Auntie, I can't do it. I can't do it. And some of them do have it. But the key part is, hey, you've done this. It's not the right way. And we have that very educational. We talk about that pros and cons and what got you in the first place to be in this behavior. So knowing the root cause, if I feel comfortable dialoguing or finding someone who I trust that can have a dialogue with them.
Truth be told, sex doesn't hurt in the sense physically. It doesn't hurt. Otherwise, you would not be doing it. I mean, they know that you parents, you mom and dad, they do it. You do it. So how are you going to tell them to abstain from something that they know you do?
I tell teenagers this all the time. Sex is a beautiful thing. It's done in the context of marriage. And here's why I explain this to them. There's a certain story of a girl that she lost her virginity to a guy. The guy said, I love you. And one of the reasons why is she wasn't feeling the love at home. So anything this guy says, she kind of falls for it. And the guy, got into her, had sex with this teenager. And then the worst part is the boy took a picture, however he did, and circulated it amongst his friends. Why am I saying this? We need to talk about this with our children, understand exactly what their mind frame, what they're thinking, how they're thinking, so we can better help them. And those are really critical things. I know we don't feel comfortable talking about this. I know it's like, oh my gosh, it's a light bulb in our mind. But we need to understand where we are. We talk about culture. Culturally, we don't talk about things like this. It's like it's it's on the do not discuss list because it's uncomfortable too, regardless of how you're very cool with your child or what relationship you are. It's very uncomfortable. And we need to tell them it's not a bad thing to have sex. It's just the context. I tell them, there's a time and there's season for things. The season is not now. It's for later. And also, you don't want to catch diseases. We need to really, really because if you're not careful, and I'm going to really say this, Mr. Divine, we end up raising children that they grow up, they're now in their marital home and unable to, have enjoy sex because of the things we really drilled in their mind in teenage years, help them look at it from negative perspective. And we need to really avoid that.
A pastor must be saying, because pastors, I see one already watching, a pastor must be saying, well, parents, if you are failing, it's because they didn't teach them enough the gospel. Is it enough to take a child to Bible studies, read the Bible every night? Is it enough to keep a child? And I'm asking this question because there are people who don't go to church, who are not Christians, who must be saying, but you people who go to church, your children are not better than mine. So are there other skills that parents ought to be teaching their children apart from just reading the Bible and teaching them the gospel and asking them to go attend Bible sessions, Bible teachings, or Bible studies?
One of the critical pieces to Bible studies and all, it's a child has a spiritual upbringing and they have the nurturing from home. It helps them or kind of shapes their thinking a lot, right? Bible study is not just it. The friends they hang out with, their mindset too critical. And then the key piece is how and our relationship with our child is very, very critical as well. And then what we do. A lot of times we tell them, do what I said. But the reality is that we need to do what we're telling them to do so they can see the godly example, the godly principle. They can follow it and, not like, oh, my mom is just, faking, or my mom is just making things up, or my dad is making things up. Bible study is critical. I really, we can use a lot of stories to kind of empower them, which is key. I'm a key found when it comes to faith. It's really critical especially when I talk to teenagers and all that. Faith plays a key role. And also, then there's the application part too, on how they apply those studies, on how they apply those things we're talking about at home. Those are very essential, that we need to really engage our children and say, hey, this is the way to do this, but this is the right way. And ultimately, Mr. Divine, no matter how we tell our children, they're human beings. They're going to make mistakes. But when they make that mistakes, we should be there to catch them. Not to say, I told you so, but to catch them.
Children are going to make mistakes. Are parents just being too protective? Should you allow your children make mistakes? And if yes, why?
Let me be very honest with you. I was thinking the other day. There's a famous story called the prodigal son. If you look at the story of the prodigal son, grew up in the right environment, had it all going, but yet he went away. And that's the story, for those who don't know the story, the guy had so much, grew up in a very fancy, the father was very loving and all that kind of deal. And one day he woke up and said, you know what? I'm going about my way. I want my stuff and I want to go out there and see the world that I think exists that I don't have now. The child went out, right? Did all he could, learned the hard way, and then came back home. And then a change mindset. Our children have to make mistakes. If they don't make mistakes, how would they learn? We should be nearby to catch them, not to say I told you so. There's no child that you see that would not make mistakes. As an adult, I make mistakes. So why wouldn't they make mistakes? And we have to look at kids too. They're human beings that behave the same way we do. Well, minus the responsibility, minus the providing peace, because they are in their world and finding themselves. When they make mistakes, tell them, it's a disguise. What have you learned? What are the lessons learned? What have you learned not to do next time? And those are now skills that you're impacting in your child. Like, okay, I failed. It really cost me X, Y, and Z. I'm going to avoid this next time. Please don't be so overly protective that they go out in the real world. They can't stand on their own.
Should parents, and somebody must be asking this question, should parents be telling their children the mistakes that they made growing up and which they regret? If yes, why?
That's a very
how do you do that without being permissive, to your child and say, well, the child feeling that, okay, if you made that mistake, why should you get angry when I make the same mistake? And why should you be overprotective?
Great question. When we ask our children and when we talk to them and we open up to them, and it's how we open up to them and say, you can't just tell a child, don't do it. The next thing will be like, mommy, why? Or daddy, why? That's how they're tailored. Like, I don't get it. Why are you telling me not to do that? Don't do this. Here's why. When I was your age, I did X, Y, and Z. It doesn't mean you're vulnerable. You are creating a connection moment with your child. And we don't want to take that for granted. Now, the child will be like, oh my God, my mom did X, Y, and Z. It's like, a well thought out child would not want to put their hand in the fire when I just explained to them, oh, I went through this and it was fire, was painful. A very reasonable child, and most kids are, when you kind of express and then you're bonding with them, they're like, oh, mommy, you went through this. I was telling my son a story the other day, and it's so funny. I said it in a very hasty way. And actually, no, this was last year. Every time he's like, oh, mommy, like this person did to you. And I'm like, yeah, he brings it up to him. Let's not undervalue the power of stories and experience. It is key to emotionally connecting with our children. They look at you they look at you like you're stepping away from that role of parenting, and now you're empowering them. You're teaching them a story that they will never forget. When you tell a child X, Y, and Z, but when you tell them stories behind it and why, it's more powerful. Stories are key too.
Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
I have a text from Washington, D.C. asking, Olu, should I allow my teenage daughter, bring her boyfriend home? Wouldn't it be better for me to know the person she's dating than try to stop her and then she goes clandestine with the thing, or with the man, with the boyfriend?
There's nothing wrong in inviting the boy home, but one of the things that I
And
do,
let's be clear about this. We're talking about a friend lover, not just a casual friend.
a boyfriend, yes, a girl boyfriend, like kissing, yes. So we're talking about all of that. Teenagers, what they do. Meet the parents because you want to know the kind of home the child is from. And you want to know, and the reason why I say before you meet the boy, meet the parents as well. And then you guys can dialogue and understand, hey, my daughter likes your son. Your son likes, how do you feel? What are your thoughts? Because by then you can really gauge, is my child in danger? Or is this a healthy relationship for my child? So when you meet and you have a conversation with the parent, you can understand. And when they go on dates, take them. Have coffees though. You have to, and another thing too, please set boundaries. Let your child know expectations of, okay, I don't want you guys touching this. I don't want you guys doing this. This is my rules. I'm going to allow you to date pending X, Y, and Z. So you just don't, because they know what mommy expects, what daddy's expectations are, and they just don't go into relationship and think they're adults. They are still children. They still need supervision. But we do it behind the scenes, watching them and all that, and us providing the guideline. But I would say, please meet the person's parent. Invite, after you meet them, go to their home or where, well, we have COVID now, but if you want to meet with them virtually, but meet the parents. You can tell what kind of family that child is coming from.
African parents must be shaking their heads in disapproval when you say allow them date. How do you, and isn't the fear legitimate? How do you allow your daughter to get dating somebody without believing that there's a real chance they could overstep boundaries? You can say all you want as a parent. They're out there by themselves. Why would you think they would not? Natural attraction is normal. Why wouldn't they start doing things you wouldn't want them to do? So why should you allow them date? Again, I'm taking the perspective of a lot of African parents watching this broadcast and those to watch when we do replays.
You have to really be well informed and educative. It would be very naive to think a teenager in 2020 century would not think about dating or liking somebody. The likelihood of them liking way before their teenage years is very high. It's attraction, it's normal. But the question is, when we start like, oh my God, if they don't do it in front of you, they're doing it behind you. And when they're doing it behind you, it's more dangerous because they don't know the right way. They don't have someone, helping them, or, they're doing it behind your back. I remember, I went to high school here. I would, I like the boys, but even this is me that is very cultural, that speak the African, language compared to children of nowadays. If they don't do it in front of you, they're doing it behind you. It's better for you to be informed so you can guide them, tell them the boundaries, tell them the expectation. It's not, it's normal for their age group. They had, like I said, some of them may be doing it due to peer pressure. Some of them may be doing, maybe they like, or some of them may be, they just want the attention. There's nothing in them dating, and dating is just, explain it to them. It's informational. You're getting to know the person and they're trying to get to know you. Help them set the boundaries and help them value themselves. If a girl wants to get in a relationship because she feels insecure, you got a bigger problem in your hand, because likelihood of her getting in that relationship, the guy is going to maltreat her and do whatever he wants to do. Like I told you about the previous example. Dating, why do you feel like you are old enough to date? What is dating to you? Those are questions we need to ask. We can't just say, no, I don't want to hear it. They'll do it behind your back and they'll do the wrong things.
I can tell you, a lot of parents that say, I don't want to hear it. How did you even know about it? This is Chat Night Africa. I'm your host, Divine Jamukong, and my guest today on the show is Lady Oluwatoyin Adefemi. Lady Adefemi, another area where you have potential conflict is picking careers. A child is getting to high school, and we parents, especially African parents, we think that if I am a doctor, my child should be a doctor. If I'm an officer in the military, my child should be an officer in the military. Is there something wrong in this thinking? If yes, why?
Everything is wrong with that thinking. We cannot, like I said, we have to know we are ambassadors. We're not the job of an ambassador is to represent the well-being of the president. In a faith space, that is God. He gave us these children, not for us to clone them as mini us. We're missing the point entirely. Our job is to instill, to train them up in the way that they should go. So whatever path and journey they find themselves, the principle and what we've impacted them with, they can really grow in such. It is wrong for us to say, I'm a doctor, you have to be a doctor. It's like you're forcing them. And then they find themselves in a world where they're very unhappy. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg, his father is like, be a doctor. Do you think the guy will be happy? Of course not. He's the CEO of Facebook because he's in his space, he's in his passion, he's operating in his element, and he has built something that is a need for everybody. So please and please, I'm applauding every parent. Whatever your child needs or what they want to become, support them. Help them to grow and be the best. If they, I tell somebody this all the time. If my child says, Mommy, I want to be a plumber, I have no problem with that. Ask me why. Can you perhaps find a tool, a robotic tool to do plumbing? There are other ways and avenues to things. So when we now kind of look at it from a short-sighted that you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a nurse, you have to do this, it's like we're taking a fish out of the water. Is a fish going to survive? Yeah, maybe no. If you put them in fresh water or this kind of environment, a fish will operate in its natural habitat. Your child will operate in their natural and spiritual gifts. So please don't push them to what you or model them to be mini you. That's a wrong mentality.
This is Chat Night Africa from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. One area I'd like you to discuss. What are some of the things that parents, and again, our emphasis is African parents or parents of color. What are some of the things that we do that turn us to become so overbearing on children, and what are the consequences of our actions?
We always look at things from our angle, from our own perspective. We don't look at their own perspective. If you put someone in front of a mirror, they see what they want to see. If you now put that same mirror in another area, they can't see everything else. One of the things, parent, you need to look at, I'm not saying step down or, let go of your parenting role. We need to look at things from multiple angles. We need to make decisions not based on my way, but other perspective, or, consider other scenarios. When I'm saying this, my child is not saying this. What is making that person not to say this? We need to look at things not from our own narrow mentality, my way, my world, but stepping out, seeing and looking at things that makes them look at things the way they do.
This is Chat Night. We will soon wrap up. Typically, we go between an hour and a half. If there are calls, if you have a phone, you can, right where you are, take part on Chat Night Africa Live. And the number is 240-603-7367. What have you observed? Because you counsel parents a lot. What have you observed have been some of the ravines that children have found themselves in as a result of a very hostile atmosphere at home? I have seen parents who, honestly, the relationship between their parent with their kids is very, very belligerent. Please talk to parents.
Parents, let your kid express themselves. It is essential. No matter how uncomfortable or how hard it is that you don't want to hear it, it's critical that you hear it. Then you can decipher on how to approach, how to, to speak to them, how to relate, and how to empower. Never shut down your child. When you shut down a child, you're saying outside it's okay for other people to do it. When others see it or when they see others doing it, they think it's the norm. No, let your child express. Let them say. Let them get it all out. I call it the get out, mode. Are you done? Have you gotten everything out of your chest? And then now pull it apart and help them understand and reconstruct it back to where it is. Let's give them voices. They are human beings. And you know what? Let me be honest. Most of the time, they're mini us. we lash out, we get upset, or I see parents doing that a lot. Is because their child is triggering something or saying something that they've said in the past. They say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? Yes, they're watching somebody, they're seeing someone, but we need to pay attention and stepping out of our world. We need to really, really, really listen to them, give them a voice in their home. When they are heard at home, they can express themselves and we can guide them and direct them on what path, on how to say what they should say and how they should. And it's all about emotional intelligence. If our kids at home can manage their emotions very well, when they go out there, they will replicate what they practice at home.
I have a text in from apparently a housewife. She says, Divine, my daughter is usually a lot more comfortable with meeting my husband to discuss things. Is it a problem that I have that I don't know? What's your answer?
It's not a problem. And you really need to extend more. It's not a problem. It's, every child has, daddy moments, mommy moments. It's a preference. It's not a problem. But one of the things you can do is, what other areas does that child likes? As a stay-at-home mom, can you take them on a date? Well, in this COVID, maybe not, or maybe you can order out. Can you guys watch a movie? Can you get to know them? And please, let me say this: silence is not rude. Silence sometimes is a good thing. The fact that you and your child are in the same room and they're silent, it's not a bad thing at all. It takes kids, especially teenagers, time to warm up with you or to say, oh my gosh, is mommy, what is, they're like detective, they're figuring it in their head. What is mommy up to? Is she doing this? Is she doing that? So if you're even in the fact that you're in the same room, it's something. You're bonding with them, you're connecting with them, even though no words are spoken. So I want you to please find out what they like or ask them, hey, we haven't hung out. Be honest, I see you love your dad, but there are other things I can teach you. Be very open. There's nothing wrong. It's like asking for feedback. Feedback on, I'm doing this, but please find what they love and do it with them. And even if you're in the same space, you are bonding, and that's key.
Olu, we couldn't end this broadcast without talking about the influence of social media and the children. Back in the days, and I'm sure in Nigeria, like in Cameroon, and elsewhere across Africa, parents had time to be around the fireside, maybe eating some roasted corn. Mommy was roasting some corn in the fire and maybe some groundnuts, peanuts, like they call it in the United States. And children had time to be with the parents. Nowadays, in the same room or in different rooms, everybody's on WhatsApp, their phone, their computer, tablets, and so on. What have been your observations concerning social media? Does social media hurt or help in that family bonding? By the way, have you observed what I'm talking about?
I have. Social media should not have a role or the front role in the life of our child. I call social media the third party. The third party in the sense that you're parenting and, your child parent relationship, and the third party can be social media. I am not a fan of a teenager always on their telephone or chatting with their friends. I believe there's a time and season for things. Some parents would have their kid have their telephone and chat away. We have to be very careful. Remember, if we don't tell our children who they are, the world will tell them who they are not, and that's social media. And a lot of people in teenage years, in early pre-teens, social media can either make or break them. Those kids that have a very strong personality, who can handle it, great. But those who are timid and looking up to social media as an image or to rebrand or to change themselves, the key solution to this is you have to define the rules. What are you willing to take as a parent? What are you not willing to take? When you guys are eating in my house, even my husband and I, the phones are away. No cell phone on the table. If you want to establish that, great. Please, when you guys are not together, the likelihood of a teenager on on their cell phone or on social media is very high. So when they're in your space, you need to come up with what I call house values. Number one, or no zone zero is phone. If you have to print pictures and put it like no cell phones in the eating area, they'll be upset, but they'll get used to it. You're teaching them, talk about coaching them, empowering them. That's another opportunity as well. That look, social media cannot really answer all. And social media it's a very tricky one. I kid you not. So I say in a home, please define rules. If they have to go to bed, I'm not a fan of, I know parents will say this, I'm not a fan of a teenager having their cell phone in their room. I personally don't advise that because that's when a lot of things they're up on night. They really sleep late anyway. They are snooping the internet, or God forbid, they clicked on a YouTube and something else came up with a naked girl. We really need to be very intentional. Parenting in a very digital world, it creates a lot of paying attention, and you need to define the rules in your house. Eating, no cell phone. Help them know that it's okay. You can breathe without your phone. When they're always on the phone and nodding their head, you're not talking to them. They're not going to hear you. And when you now remove their cell phone from them, they're like, oh, mommy is just a party pooper. Please define the rules. It's very essential.
A text just coming to me from a lady. She says, well, Olu, you are saying we should spend time with our children, family time. But I realize that each time I'm talking to my son, my teenage son, I'm sounding to him as very annoying. His responses are just very hostile. What is it? And I'm sure a lot of parents relate to this. When you find yourself, whether it's a girl child or a boy child, that every time anything you say to them, they respond, they're fighting back. What do you really do? Is it that you're communicating poorly? Is it your style or the content? Or they just have come to an age where they think they should assert their independence? What is it?
The last one, independence. And teenagers have a high wall that they put up. The least person that they want to really get to that fence is parents. So even if you're talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, they're trying to they're trying to run you off. I call it the run off mode that they usually do, whereby, because they know mommy will go away, she'll be like, she'll go away, she'll get tired and get fed up, she'll be out of my space, she'll be out of my face. That's how they think, some of them. So you have to be very intentional and say, you know what, say joke, do something very silly, at that moment you really have to, the point of what you're trying to do is to break that barrier. When they know that, oh, mom is not going anywhere, oh my gosh, she's very persistent, oh my gosh, she's very annoying, if you have to tickle them, break that ice. Once you break that ice, you're getting closer to their space. But it's a tactic all of them does. Oh my gosh, my mom gets on my nerves. Oh, we went shopping, she was just talking. Oh, my mom was asking me questions, I don't want to talk to my mom. They're trying to blow you off. But if they see that you are really intentional, you're in their space, and I'm not meaning their space like you go to their room and all that. When you have the moment that you come in contact, make it count. And it's a tactic of theirs that they try to really diffuse their mom, knowing that yes, she's going to give up, she's going to go back into their world, and I'm going to be left to do my own thing. It's just a tactic that they all do.
Do you realize that all the good things that you were saying, a lot of parents are going to find it very offensive? Why is that so?
I won't be surprised. This is where we talk about either you choose to empower yourself and look at the environment you're in. I'm not saying we should raise our children in a Western way, but we need to know that we're raising first African, here in America, first, African American, first Nigerian American or Cameroonian American. The way they're going to think is very different. All I'm saying is look around you. What are the goods that you can take to empower yourself and to parent better? What are the things that you should avoid? And you have to look at it by your child. Every child differs. If you have 4 kids, you can't interact with one style with all 4 kids. You have to deal with your child. And I know, yes, people will be offended, especially about the sex part. Oh, I don't want to talk. But like I said, everything we do has to be wisdom based, and we can always borrow from the person next door to us.
You know what? You don't talk about sex to your children. Sex is all over the internet. If your child has a smartphone, sorry, that's no longer a topic you should be afraid of or worried about talking on with your children. Because if you don't tell them, if you don't talk to them about it, there's so much information on YouTube, name it, everywhere. It's everywhere. What's your last word before we go, Olu?
Parents, the way we choose to raise our children will impact how they'll raise their children. 2 things. You either choose to empower them. When I say empower them, teach them the best of the best. They will make mistakes. Let them make mistakes. The more mistakes they make, the more they will learn, but be there to catch them. And let's understand, part of parenting is not just providing for them, is nurturing, teaching them empathy. Because whatever way you and I choose to parent our children, that's how they're going to carry on. That's where legacy comes into play. That's where you have, when they have conflict with other people, oh, this is how we do it in my house. They are very more emotionally balanced. Let's raise spiritual children, high emotional children, kids that are empathetic, kids that I can look and say, you know what, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And kids that are they have expectation, they know our expectation. Kids that are they're just going to be kind. They're going to be well-rounded. And doesn't mean that you have to quit your day job to do that. Any moment you have the opportunity to bless your child with words of wisdom or to interact with them, whether they want to hear it or not, do your piece. You never know. They may pretend like they're not listening, but I guarantee you're sowing a seed. It may not grow today, but it will grow in the future. So let's be very intentional in raising healthy adults, in raising well-balanced children.
Oh, you know what I like about journalism? I learn a lot. I bring you guys here and I'm learning a lot. A lot. Don't start it because then I'll talk like Oluwatoyin. Anyway, I just want to appreciate you, my friend. But so many people also appreciate you. If they wanted to contact you, how would they contact you?
Great question. I have my website. It's www.toyin with my last name adefemi.com, where I have resources for parents and I have resources for teenagers. On the parent side, I usually hold workshops. Actually, come next month, I'm holding a workshop on parenting triggers, how we react, and how. So I do that. So all that information is on my website. That would be a great start.
Wow. Listen, we could be here all night, all day, talking about parenting. Let me ask you a question before you go. Now, you're going to answer my question on other things. Do you care about what you eat, put in your mouth?
I do.
Okay. And I'm sure that lots of people watching, virtually everybody watching, cares about what they put in their mouth. Here is why I'm raising this question. Soon, our chat night, we'll be talking about the case for and against genetically modified foods, GMO. When I go to do grocery, lots of people are going for organic foods. And there are all kinds of debates for and against GMOs. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about that next. And we have a treasure trove of knowledge in the person of a gentleman coming in from Ghana to discuss this subject. Olu, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you at Chat Night Africa.
Thanks for having me.
By the way, you leaving, if you have any other questions, which you didn't want to call in and ask, because typically Africans don't want to identify with certain sensitive things publicly. I know that, even though I had my phone in hand waiting to call, I knew that people would be reluctant to call. Now, if you want to ask a question to this parenting expert, by all means, type the question. She will loiter around a couple of days in the green room to take the questions you ask. Again, thank you, my friend, for coming to Chat Night Africa to take some of the sometimes aggressive questions from me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's how we end this broadcast, Chat Night Africa. I'm your host, Divine Chamakong, and I want to thank the entire production team that pulled together all the resources to make this broadcast possible. You see me alone on the stage and the platform. Lots of people are watching or working behind the scenes to make this happen. I want to thank also those people who have contributed money, materially, sometimes advice, so that you can get the content, the quality that you have. We'll continue to ameliorate on the content and quality, audiovisual quality that we bring you, because as far as we are concerned at Chat Night Africa, perfection is a road in construction. Thank you again for watching, and you have a blessed week. Bye-bye.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. down. I'm coming. I'm coming. Coming to dance. To dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna party. Party hardy. We're gonna boogie. Boogie woogie. And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready. I'm coming. I'm coming back. I'm coming.